Hey everybody, it's Tony Traguardo of the Port Washington Public Library. Welcome to another edition of Tony T's Tune Talk. And on this internet program, I talk about music and often will refer to some of the great digital resources available through the library where you can get some of this great music. This time around, in celebration of Black History Month, I thought I'd look at some of the great music that's available from some of the most important interracial pop groups and musical groups beginning back in the 1950s. And I'm going to start with someone named Johnny Otis. Now, if a role exists in Black music that Johnny Otis couldn't play, it would be hard to find it. He's often known as the godfather of rhythm and blues. Johnny Otis was a band leader, a talent scout, singer, drummer, minister, journalist, and TV show host. Between 1950 and 1952, Johnny Otis and his band recorded 15 top 40 R&B hits. He was not only a trailblazer in the world of music, but he was also a religious leader, a political activist. Johnny lived through the Supreme Court decisions that decriminalized interracial marriage, barred racial gerrymandering, and ended covenants barring Black Americans from owning property. He witnessed the inauguration of the nation's first African-American president, was a friend of Malcolm X, and an enemy of racial oppression. Yet Johnny Otis, one of the most important figures in mid-century Black music in America, was not actually Black. Johnny Otis was born Jonas Alexandros Villotas, and he grew up in an African-American neighborhood in Berkeley, California. He spent his early years immersed in Black culture and music. He identified more with African-American culture than he did with his own Greek background, and that led him to adopting a new name, believing that it sounded more Black. He never denied his true background, so Johnny Otis was not an impersonator. But he recalled at one point being told by a school counselor when he was a teenager that he should be, quote, spending more time with his white classmates. Johnny pointedly wrote in a biography years later, as a kid, I decided that if our society dictated that one had to be either Black or white, I would be Black. When he was 19, Johnny married a childhood friend from Oakland, 18-year-old Phyllis Walker, whose heritage was African-American and Filipino. Their union lasted 71 years until Johnny Otis's death of natural causes on January 17, 2012. Johnny's contributions to the genre of rhythm and blues, performed with an interracial band, include such classics as That's Your Last Boogie, Rock and Blues, and most importantly, Willie and the Hand Jive. Johnny's work led to opportunity for many young Black singers and musicians who helped to inspire, helped to promote, and also helped to navigate through the business. It also led him to a life of money and fame for himself. Here are a few of the albums that you can find by Johnny Otis that are available on the Hoopla digital network. The complete Savoy recordings, excellent material, and the original Johnny Otis. Check them out. Great stuff. The Chambers Brothers are another band that shattered racial and musical divides to forge an incendiary fusion of funk, gospel, blues, and psychedelia. All of that reached its apex, of course, with the perennial 1968 song, Time Has Come Today. The Chambers Brothers were bassist George, guitarist Willie, harpist Lester, and guitarist Joe, all of whom contributed vocals. They were born and raised in Lee County, Mississippi, the products of an impoverished sharecropping family. The brothers first polished their harmonies in the choir of their Baptist church, a collaboration which ended after George was drafted into the Army in 1952. Following his discharge, he relocated to LA, where the other Chamber brothers soon settled as well. The foursome began performing gospel and folk throughout California in 1954, but they remained virtually unknown until they came to New York City in 1965. The addition of white drummer Brian Keenan not only made the Chambers Brothers into an interracial group, but pushed their music ever closer towards rock and roll. They appeared at the Newport Folk Festival and were extremely well received in 1965, and that further enhanced their growing reputation. They soon recorded the debut LP, People Get Ready, a tremendous piece of music which is available through Hoopla Digital. Moving on, the interracial band, The Equals, they created bouncy pop anthems spiked with bursts of brass and lead singer Derv Gordon's incredibly unique growl of a voice. Eddie Grant usually provided backup vocals as he bashed away gleefully at the guitar. He also wrote many of the group's songs. Derv's twin brother Lincoln and fellow band member Pat Lloyd helped to pull it all together, and drummer John Hall threw down a primal rhythm. The Eagles as a band stood out. They were the first major interracial rock group in the UK, predating other fine bands like the Foundations and Hot Chocolate. They even got the jump on America's first conspicuously mixed-race band, Sly and the Family Stone. On top of that, the black members of the Equals, Eddie Grant and the Gordon twins, were immigrants in England at a time when that country was absorbing a large influx of people from its former colonies. Long before the UK's Brexit vote legitimized the nation's anti-immigrant constituency, and our most recent waves of police brutality in the US necessitated the Black Lives Matter movement, the Equals embodied the idea that blacks and whites, natives and immigrants belonged together. Every photo of the five men standing together in a magazine or on record was a true statement. And you could see they're always leaning on one another. They're always, there's a spirit of camaraderie with one another. Brilliant. The music, of course, was brilliant too. Jamaican music had filtered into the English mainstream, especially into the white culture, with a song called My Boy Lollipop, which was a big hit by a Jamaican immigrant named Millie Small that came out in 1964. That song kicked up a wave of ska, pop, and R&B that became known as Blue Beat, which took its name from a London-based record label, Blue Beat Records. The Eagles didn't really play true ska. What they did was they brought a Caribbean flavor as well as a Jamaican accent, courtesy of Derv, to British beat music. And this can be heard in the upbeat, pounding final chorus to their classic song, Baby Come Back, which also drives home just how open and proud the Equals were of their collective mixed heritage. That song became their biggest hit, selling more than 1 million copies in Britain and even breaking in the Billboard Top 40 in the US in 1968. There are many good Equals greatest hits collections, and if you visit Hoopla, you're bound to find one. I know you'll find one. Finally, there is the American Breed. The American Breed formed in 1966. The band put 5 records on the charts in 1967 and 1968, including I Don't Think You Know Me at All, Step Out of Your Mind, and Green Light. But the group's biggest hit, Bend Me, Shape Me, reached number 5 early in 1968. Contributing to that song was an excellent arrangement by the band's record producer, Bill Trott, who added horns among other changes. As time went on, the American Breed evolved and changed. Old members left, new members joined, and the name of the band changed several times. Eventually, it evolved into a band called Rufus, featuring the brilliant lead singer, Chaka Khan. Bend Me, Shape Me was the biggest hit for the American Breed, and it is really, while a great song, not the best thing, in my opinion, that you're going to find on either of the American Breed studio albums that are available on the Hoopla digital network. I think you're especially going to enjoy what amounts to something of a concept album, only because of a few linking songs that appear throughout, called Pumpkin Powder, Scarlet, and Green. So those are a few things I can point you to on Hoopla Digital, and those are a few of the historically important and musically fantastic interracial groups that we've seen in the 50s and 60s. So with that, this is Tony Traguardo for Tony T's Tune Talk here on the Port Washington Public Library's YouTube channel. And thanks for watching. See you soon.